I'm Noel Didla. I use she, her pronouns. I'm with the Deep South Solidarity Fund, and I'm based in Jackson, Mississippi.
Can you talk to us about your change process and why it's important for the work you do?
Um, Change process. I strongly believe that every day is different from the other. Every second is different from the other. The time that passes doesn't come back. And there's always been this awareness around growth, awareness around change for me, and the desire to continue to better myself has always existed. And finding ways to do that has been a process that I've been in for a number of years, and I've done leadership programs, and I've done different kinds of practices to continue to arrive into myself. And that's important. That's been important for me because I value my life. I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to be powerful. I want to be centered, and I want to be impactful, and I want my legacy to be very much rooted in the power of what I'm supposed to bring to this world. And to me, that only happens if I'm committed to change work, and I'm committed to responsible change work. And so that has been a real desire of mine that existed within me for a number of years, and I've been on that path for decades now.
Wonderful. How many years have you been in practice?
Well, I'm 50 years old, and for me, as a woman that was born into a Dalit Christian family back home in Guntur, which is in Andhra, the state of Andhra in southern India, I grew up learning who I was through how my parents informed me. And then coming into my teens and even through my very young years, there were parts of me that were discovering who I was through social interactions and through community interactions, through school with sibling and with cousins and members of family across generations. And so because of who my father was, because of who my grandparents were, and who my mom was, and how they created our home space to be more multi-generational home space, but also a movement space. My home was where a lot of community conversations took shape. My home was the place where community convened to engage on political strategy, cultural strategy. So to me, what kind of practices I'm in, or what brought practices into my life, were informed by the home I grew up in and the community that I was a part of, and the caste community I was born into, and the socioeconomic conditions that my family were experiencing. So all of that, points of privilege and points of oppression, all of that continue to shape me to this day.
Why is women of color leadership vital for your or our movement work?
It's a very important question, and also it brings up so many memories for me when I think about women and movements. And women have always been, and women of color especially, have always been the backbone of civilization's, backbone of change. And I've seen my great-grandmother, my grandmothers on both sides, and my mother and me as those backbones of change within families, change within communities, change within circles of influence. And so to me, when I see myself in that role as a change maker, as a leader, and I engage with other people who are also similarly engaged, and most times we work, but we are not valued, we are not given the resources, and we are told that we don't deserve what we ask for. So to me, as a person who has access to resources, as a person who understands it, which in itself is a resource to me, being able to be aware of what I need, what we need, what I deserve, what we deserve, and having that kind of knowledge, having that kind of wisdom is so important for me because it helps me to think about change in a bigger, impactful way across generations. And I truly believe I deserve to be invested in. As a result, I also believe every woman deserves that kind of investment. And when I say woman, I'm particularly focusing on women of color because women of color are particularly divested in, have been divested in for centuries, right? And so I'm referring to women of color and how they deserve to be abundantly invested in. Their imagination needs to be invested in, their dreams need to be invested in, their ideas need to be invested in, their work, their health, their rest, everything needs to be invested in. And the lens of investment has to be abundance. The lens of investment has to be sustainability. The lens of investment has to be dignity. And the lens of investment has to be honor and respect. So I believe I deserve that. And I believe every woman of color that is leading and building, whether it's family, street work, to universities, political spaces, socio-cultural, economic spaces, any place, if a woman is taking the risk of coming forth to be a leader, that woman needs to be invested in abundantly. The work itself should speak to itself. That's what I believe. Work is, if I'm thinking about work as a cultural product, if I'm thinking about work as a knowledge product, I want the quality of that work to basically represent my values, to basically represent my practices, and people to see it through the quality of the work I produce. So to me, the visibility part, that's a tricky question for me because I'm somebody who stays in the background all the time, and so and I'm learning it through this process of being in Well Plus. I'm kind of unlearning that, unlearning that being in the background, but stepping up in a very responsible, loving way to claim my space, to claim my truth, to claim my space in the lineages of things that I'm doing, we are doing, right? And to assert myself that way. That's a new learning for me. So when you ask this question around visibility, I'm like, oh, what is visibility? For me, I still cringe at being in front of people. I want to be in the background, be the backbone. That's always been how I have. Like that's my conditioned tendency, right? So kind of getting beyond my conditioned tendency, what visibility should look like is, visibility should look like dignity. Visibility is where people should see my dignity, hold space for my dignity, and respect my dignity. And also visibility to me looks like trust. People trusting me with truth, people trusting me with resources, and people trusting me with making mistakes and being better. So to me, all of that looks like good visibility. If somebody's seeing me and trusting me and supporting me and then allowing me the room to grow and being there with me through the tough times, in conflict and beyond, in repair and beyond conflict, that's visibility for me. That's good visibility for me. And I think that's visibility all of us deserve, because we don't want to be disposed of. Nobody deserves to be disposed of, We all, visibility to me is belonging to self and belonging to community, belonging to change work, belonging in place and with people. That's what visibility is for me.
How has the work of Mukti and Universal Partnership contributed to your leadership? and ultimately the work you do in your communities?
So I have been invited by my sister friend Simran Noor to be part of Mukti. So I met Rusia a little over a year ago as she helped facilitate a conflict transformation process with one of our ecosystems. And that was stewardship ecosystems, and that was an amazing experience. And when Rusia invited me to be part of Well Plus cohort on recommendation from Simran, who's graduating today, I immediately accepted because the hunger that has remained in me to continue to grow. This happened at the right time. Simran and I have been in conversations about somatic practices, and I have a coach, and I've been working with a coach for a number of years now. And so I've been on the path of building more self-awareness, self-discovery, and learning to be more centered in myself. And when this opportunity to do that with a community of people came by my way, I immediately said yes to it. And saying yes to it has been one of the greatest gifts I think I gave myself. And because my co-stewards, when I brought this to my co-stewards and said, this is the investment I want to make in myself, I want us to make in me. I've never asked for anything so far in terms of gift or support for the work I do. And I said, this is what I want you all to invest in me. They felt so happy, and they immediately said, yes, we will invest in this for you, because I have to travel from Mississippi every month. So that's flight tickets, that's hotel, that's meals, that's local transportation, all the things, right? So it's a very, very big commitment, big investment. But because how I saw this as critical to my growth, and my co-stewards understood my need, they made that investment in me. And now we're all seeing the results in terms of how much I have grown, how much I have become more aware of myself, and how much this has opened me to love and belonging. And so I would say, it's been phenomenal, to say the least. It's been grounding, it's been centering, and it is very, very powerful. And I would say this is very necessary. It's a gift that we can give ourselves, and I've definitely given this gift to myself.
Why is supporting leadership important to the work on the ground?
From my experience, most times, majority times, we put people into leadership and we kind of step away from it. And most times, those of us who put people into leadership kind of believe our work is done once people assume positions of power, positions of influence as leaders. And I think there should be kind of like a reckoning around what leadership means in definition, and a reckoning around what do leaders deserve, what kind of support any leadership deserves. So those reckonings should happen, I think, in any space, in every space, in a very space-specific way. And once you do that, then it will kind of help you to set up leaders for success, not just set up leaders. Because when you set up leaders, they could be set up to fail. They are not always set up to succeed. Leaders need support, leaders need nurturing, leaders need nourishing, leaders need accountability, leaders need thought partnership, and leaders need opportunities to grow and scale, and leaders need to be tested and stretched. All of that can come when we know how to surround leaders with that kind of care. And most times we don't do that. And when you think about, this is leadership across the board, right? That's what leaders deserve. But when you think about women in leadership, they're given even less. They're actually asked to do more with less, sometimes a lot with nothing. So it's important to recognize what kind of gift supports your offering leaders in general, how inequitable that is when you compare with what women in leadership are given. And then you have to, close the gap completely. And also equity, it's not even closing the gap. You have to invest more because it's reparations. You have to invest in women because women need that kind of support, which is seen through the lens of reparations, because they've been divested in and violently divested in for hundreds, thousands of years. It's only then we will be able to help women to be the culture changers, structure changers, policy changers, and changers of change. And that's what I think the world deserves right now, is to see women, hear women, hold women in all their dignity, in all their humanity, in all their contradictions, and pour into them because they deserve to be poured into. And Rusia is doing just that through Ma Mukti, and I'm so grateful for that.